Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
Great to see you, Eli, Ibrahim, and Tariq. We're here to continue the conversation about artificial intelligence, but from the lenses of operators. You operate companies and you run them, and some of you have founded them. And the first question that comes to mind is that you're a relatively young and highly growing company facing a lot of challenges and having a lot of opportunities ahead of you. And then you have AI lending. How do you see this? Do you see this as a threat or an opportunity? Is it a tailwind or a headwind for you?
It's kind of, I mean, optimists build the future, always. So for me, it's like that's the biggest opportunity that I've ever seen. I mean, I totally remember before starting Anghami, I was working on a SMS infrastructure because at the time it was interesting, and I wanted to start Anghami because the mobile was coming up. That's my excuse to create Anghami. It's like, music and mobile, because there was like all of the iPhone coming and all of that, and I wanted to build on it. Now, when I'm looking at AI, the era of AI and that we're witnessing, and the massive disruption that's creating, I can only see positive stuff. Obviously, we can discuss the problems that could create, but the opportunities by far outweigh the cons.
What's your perspective, Ibrahim?
I think it's a big opportunity for sure, especially because it's like there's so much work, repetitive menial work, that ends up having to take up a lot of our time instead of doing innovative and creative work. So having AI, one, help with fixing or automating really menial tasks at the company, and then two, it opens up a world of opportunity with customer experience related features. So we're very excited on how we can leverage and see how this can grow and kind of take customer experience to the next level.
Very good. Tariq, what's your point of view?
I think it's the biggest equalizer. So when you look at the competitive world of technology and how fast it's moving, AI obviously has scaled it so fast and it's moving so quickly that it's actually equalized and really balanced the playing field in many ways. And so you can get very good skill sets that people that only have 1 or 2 years of experience that can help you completely leapfrog the technical landscape. And more importantly, and specifically for what we're doing here in Lebanon, it's a lot more available, and the younger generation is catching on so quickly on it that all of a sudden, for instance, with our US and European presence, just leveraging some of the AI skill sets in Lebanon, we've managed to leapfrog a lot of our competition in our field with people with 2 or 3 years of experience in this field.
I love the equalizer notion. We heard it with digital, now probably is on steroid with AI. I want to talk a little bit about how you are experimenting AI in the life of your companies. I want to start with you, Eli. Anghami was the first kind of homegrown music streaming service in the region. And I know you're one of the first to jump on AI and try to integrate AI in everything that you do. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing, what areas, user-facing, artist management, operations, how are you integrating it today?
We're using AI, and we operate 2 products, Anghami, the music service, and OSN Plus, the video streaming service. We also think of AI on user-facing, and we think of AI in the org.
Yeah.
And we think of AI on developer experience. So basically, and we're integrating AI in all of 3 of them. Bonus is I'm personally integrating AI in a lot of what I do on a daily basis. I think I'm really abusing quote-unquote AI. But so basically, AI, machine learning, we've been using machine learning since the first version of Anghami. Clearly, it was very basic, but recommendation is machine learning. Recommendation to understand what we should give you, what we send you, especially when we receive roughly 120,000 songs a week. We really need to understand those songs and understand what to give to you. So we've been working across that for a long period of time. But when basically, let's say the AI that when you say AI right now, a lot of people refer to ChatGPT. I think for most of the people, AI represents ChatGPT. The idea that we suddenly have intelligence on top, literally calling an API to validate if something is correct or not, makes it totally different. So basically, we can actually understand the user experience. Let's say we automated roughly 85% of our customer interaction now are automated by AI. So basically, the customer sends a message to the customer support, and there's a total back and forth interaction with tool calling, so we can actually, reset his password, stop his subscription, restart, whatever, all of by AI. So basically, you automate a lot of the things that humans used to consume, not to actually get rid of humans, but to get humans actually focusing on the higher level. So that's exactly, we just reduce the basic simple stuff to go to the upper levels. So in terms of user facing, we've integrated a lot of functionalities on a day-to-day basis, trying to replace a lot of the infra that old code that we have by using new LLM, and that's across so many things. Obviously, you could do way more. If we did not have the rights on music, stuff like that, we would do much more. But in terms of the org, it's been massive. For instance, last summer, we had 6,200 internship application. I'm not joking, that's a real number. 6,200 internship applications, whereby we took 20 people only. And all of those were actually screened by AI, and we had a tool whereby that could schedule interaction with AI with the selected people to actually, try to get to something decent to be able to interview. We will not interview 6,200. We ended up interviewing 120. That tool was created in-house to literally filter and interview humans, right? And without that, that would have taken a whole lot of time, or we probably would have ignored a lot of interesting profiles. That is an example, but we've done a lot of those. I don't want to take all the time. And internally, personally, I think I am much better because I have now my own AI preparing drafts to all my emails that I received. That he knows the full context of my emails back from 2000. I think 14 is the cutoff that I have in the system. Knows all my emails and can refer to everything. So I have all my drafts prepared on my own AI that I built. That makes a huge impact.
Clearly, and you mentioned going into different areas in the company, from hiring to user to probably artist management. Do you have an overarching AI strategy, or whoever kind of is more keen on launching AI in their own department? How are you approaching this from a corporate point of view?
One thing, the first when I started using AI and trying to pitch it to my employees, it was extremely hard. Why? Because they're doing their thing, they're doing it very well. They don't feel they need to change anything in the system.
Yeah.
It becomes, you have to get their buy-in. To do that, I started by experimenting and showing them what we can do. Once that happened, then they realized the mere amount of things that we can create with AI and the speed of creation. I don't code anymore on a day-to-day basis. I'm running huge companies, but on the weekend I code. So I've coded multiple things for the teams and showed them what I did over the weekend. And then we created in every team someone that is empowered to review everything that we've been doing and figure out what are the low-hanging fruits to introduce AI. That started, and once we had wins and I saw what happened, and then any new project that we start thinking about it. What if we're recreating it with AI? So there is no project that's for the past 6 months probably doesn't have AI in it. And in terms of developers, they were, depending on the developer, they will use either Cloud Code or Codex, and it's fully aligned across the entire company. Last I checked, roughly 50% of the code was getting written by AI, reviewed by humans, but written by AI. That number still will go way further if we actually just open up the gates. But the point is, we had a problem figuring out with AI, you can have way more code being written, but if it's not reviewed, you get to a worse code, right?
Yeah.
So to integrating human in the loop makes it that, yes, we can build much faster, much better, but we need to conserve quality. So you have a lot of tweaking to get to a better place. But we envision Right now, a product manager never providing a document as what they have. They will create a mock-up, a totally working mock-up by using Claude Code, creating what they want, showing what they need. So an engineer will actually see what it's supposed to do and recreate it, rather than before you used to have a PRD, which is a document saying do blah, 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 blah. So, and that creates way higher workflow.
Yeah.
For that, obviously, for any company, that means they can have way more productivity, way more empowerment for the engineers, and the other result is for the customer, way more satisfaction, because everything is, any feature that the customer might ask for or a bug is fixed way faster.
Clearly, I want to take two quotes from you. One, building belief through proof of concept, and number two, taking an AI native or AI first product development approach. I want to turn to you, Brahim, at Totter, which I think most of us use and delighted to use in Lebanon. I know you're already using AI from behind the scenes, cleaning and analyzing data, learning from chatbot interactions, categorizing item. Tell us a little bit about your experience so far with AI and how is it changing your business?
The way we view AI at Toters is in two ways mainly. The first way is that AI is a way to amplify the impact of the work that our teams do. And the second way, at least from my perspective, it is a great way to bring the human touch to the customer experience. So, an example about how I use AI. So
it's interesting you say the human touch to user experience through AI.
Yeah,
please elaborate.
So, for example, you can use AI to hyper-personalize the homepage, so you can see, the meals or the stores that you like. But another thing that we're exploring is building an AI ordering assistant. So this would be like, let's say you don't know what to eat, you're at work, you open it up, you just say, I want a healthy lunch under $10. You can see based on your previous eating patterns and what you're asking for, the AI can recommend things that you would most likely like to eat for lunch. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So I was talking earlier about how I use AI to kind of, or how we're using AI to amplify the impact at Toters. So we're leveraging it heavily. In one way, as product managers, we leverage it by synthesizing large data sets. So we work with data to do a lot of analysis to find the root cause of a problem, figure out customer pain points, optimize, for example, the driver's time, our team's time. And we get a lot of data and a lot of feedback from customers and from our drivers. And we used to go through these a lot, like one by one. We used to tag them. We used to have like a strategy for how we are going to actually derive insights from these data sets. With AI right now, you feed it all in, and it can automatically kind of give you the customer insights, the pain points, the highlights, what the drivers are feeling, what merchants are saying, and it basically allows us to deliver value and solve these problems a lot quicker.
So the same team who's now using AI to process these comments and feedback, you still have the same team, but doing more value added.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because this is how we see AI at Toters. It cannot replace people. It amplifies the impact of their work and allows them to do the more creative, the directing, the actually solving the problem. Instead of spending weeks trying to figure out what the problem is, now I can figure that out quickly and actually spend that time in delivering the impact.
Very interesting. Tariq, to you, and generative AI has been a big topic, especially over the last 2 years. I'm personally blown away by what's happening. And being at Google, I see firsthand, and it's just incredible. But it's also, clearly in your space, it's enabling content creation at unprecedented scale. And I think this is where your work comes in. Brand compliance, intellectual property management, all of these are becoming more important. How are you positioning yourself to use AI to help creators and enterprise manage rights and royalties in this new reality?
Yeah. So as you said, it's very fast moving, especially on the Gen AI side for content creation. As a company, we're a B2B software company, so we don't deal with consumer data like Totters or Andrami, but we help our customers leverage, and understand all the licensing aspects of the content. So we deal a lot with marketers. Let's take L'Oreal, for example. All of their marketing departments in 37 brands around the world produce tons of marketing content, and they have to understand what their usage rights are, where can they use that content, how often, etc. And then you add AI on top of that, and now they're generating well over 2 million derivative assets, derivative images and videos annually across their brands. That's in addition to what they do in their production studios, for instance. So clearly tons of opportunity for marketing in this case, but the complexity of understanding the copyright compliance aspect of it still exists, right? Because you can't just generate content from a certain talent and then expect to be able to use it if it's not licensed. And so there's a huge volume of new content that's being developed. The copyright laws around the world are different, and they differ in terms of who owns the content that's being created. And as the legal structure is developing, the big brands are always leaning to being safe with the use of content, which is good. They're using it responsibly. And so what we've done is we've basically enabled AI inside the company, both in our product R&D division, to be able to create code faster, more securely, test it better, but then also to be able to translate a lot of the work that we're doing into multiple languages. And then the other thing that we've done is we've looked at creating AI agents in our portfolio of products. And so the next step that we're doing here, and a lot of this work is being done here in the Beirut office actually, creating agentic AI services on top of our copyright services platforms to be able to scale with the scale of content creation. And so there's a lot of exciting things. And as I mentioned before about the great equalizer, we're training 50 people, for instance, in the office here, all using online training, in this case through AWS, for instance. And we're getting people certified on this stuff, and it's taking just a few months to get there. So it's not no longer a multi-year proposition.
You're touching, Tariq, on a very important point, I think dear to me, and I think dear to everyone, as His Excellency Kamal also during the first part of the day. It's about talent. We're a country rich of talent, and I want to understand a little bit from you. Also, I heard it from you, Eli, that you have people in-house who have worked on the HR processes to use AI in them. How do you find it difficult or easy to find talent and capabilities in Lebanon? And are you needing to partner or build in-house? What's your approach to all of that?
I mean, let me take that because when we started back in the days, everybody told me, what are you doing? I mean, how can you build a competitor to Apple? Or at the time, Spotify wasn't, we started almost, maybe they started 2-3 years ahead. So basically it was, how are you doing all of that? And I couldn't recruit people from Facebook or Google or wherever, right? I mean, there was nobody that had 3 years experience in mobile app at the time. What we did first was getting people who understand tech and know how to code and trying to upskill them or get them to work across what we wanted to do. And we found it was very hard. Getting people to unlearn knowledge and start a new knowledge is a big problem. It still is a big problem, but it's easier probably right now, but it's all a mindset thing. We found that the key to creating what we did at the time, I'm talking 2014 here, is literally go to the university, find smart people who are motivated. You cannot create motivation. It's like either you have it or you don't, right? That's called agency, whereby either that person have it or not. We interview for that thing. We don't interview because he knows a certain programming language or he's done whatever project. But if he has that, then we train him. And that's, many years later right now, I still have people who started with us as interns who are now VPs. So it started interns, took a part-time job with us, learned the ropes and understood, and still have the same agency, fire in the belly, that we wanted, we thought for back then. So that is the same thing. Now with AI, intelligence is not as important because you can delegate to AI, but agency, you still need it. So basically, if you still focus on people who want to prove themselves, want to do more, have curiosity to learn, you can get them way faster with AI. And we've tried it. I mean, in this summer, those internships I referred to, we had around 20, and we had a few of the project of interns that were worked on for 2 months only are currently live in our flow. One intern, I mean, there are a few, but one of them I remember because on OSL Plus, we get a lot of series, right? So you might, like subscribe to a series, started playing a series, and then, next month they say you get a new series. It's released 5 a.m. Local time because it's released based on HBO content that's released in the US. So we need to notify you, but nobody has yet watched that episode, can send a push notification to tell you anything, except they can tell you, watch the new episode of House of the Dragon, right? And you can just say that. Yeah. That's boring, but we created something that would actually watch the series, literally not watch it, listen to the series, extract the entire dialogue, create from the dialogue a push notification, remove everything that might be, someone died or whatever. I mean, we do not want to, break down something like that for you. Create a push notification and send it to you. So you'd actually get a push notification based on your timeline, whatever, but nobody's read it, nobody's watched it. So all of that, you get your most human push notification possible sent by AI. I'm just using what Brahim just mentioned because it adds much more personalization, much more human touch. If we actually, without AI, tell you, watch the new episode of XYZ, or tell you something interesting about the plot that gets you watching, this is actually was created by an intern. Is it that complicated? Once I tell you about it, it's not that complicated. Yeah. It is back then. So the whole mindset of abundance, that we can do more with actually less, but just thinking about the problem, because we used to think about any problem and figuring out how do we actually automate it, but intelligence was never part of what you think about automating. It wasn't, because this whereby the human is in the loop. Now we're figuring out what can be automated so that we as persons figure out what more can we do. And we've done a lot of those things. That's an example I'm saying on video. But I can give a lot of examples of real work that simply a particular, looking at a certain piece of code and looking of how bad it is. I think Sean, the guy that whatever before mentioned about personalization. We're doing something with voice. Actually, it will launch on 1 December on Anghami when we do the end of year campaign, whereby we do the review of the music, what you listened and everything. It's very fun usually. But this time we're using AI and voice. You're going to talk to someone, and that someone is going to tell you about what you did this year, what you played, and will roast your music. And it's going to talk to you in English or in Arabic or in French, depends what you want to talk. And literally will go back and how many times you listen to a sad song at that particular point in time and whatever. It will feel as it's a human that knows you, that listened to everything that you've listened ever, and can actually have fun with you on music. It is the most human exercise possible.
December 1st.
December 1st, driven by AI.
One more takeaway from what you said, Eli, that I love. And this is a topic that is recurrent. What are the skills that are needed in the new age of AI? And you mentioned an unusual skill. It's not a skill, it's a trait of character, which is motivation. And maybe it's not a skill. Maybe what we need are traits of personality. I don't know. And I think this can inform also policymakers into how to go about educating Where do they go? To universities? Do they need people who knows and unlearn and then learn, or people who are still fresh? But I want to continue on this topic with Brahim and Tariq on the talent topic. Whether are you finding them in Lebanon, or are you having to partner or source? And the other bit is, what are the skills or traits that you're looking at when you think about hiring new people to do AI related work?
What Elise said really resonated with me, especially because this is also what we had to do. Like, we did go to universities, find motivated people, especially during the time of the brain drain in Lebanon, during the crisis when a lot of the talent was leaving. That was a very challenging time to hire and find talent. But we looked for young, motivated people who the qualities I'm looking for is curiosity, it's perseverance, it's motivation to like just wanting to get things done. Like they want to make something, they want to build something. I looked for builders, and we hired these people. And these same people today have very senior positions at Toters. And we made it through that hard time. And I think right now we're in the opposite of a brain drain. Because
You're in a brain gain.
yes,
As
exactly. Because right now we're finding a lot of interest from a lot of talented Lebanese around the world that have an opportunity to come back to Lebanon to work for companies like Toters, Anghami, and all the
are
other.
you seeing it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we've done it. And there's a lot of people who have come back to the country because they want to. They've been, abroad for many years, and they've worked at top companies, and they have an opportunity to get to work for an exciting tech company, get paid a salary that's reasonable, be part of an environment that wants to build something great for their country in Lebanon. And we found a lot of interest in this. A lot of people did come back.
That's one of the most encouraging stories
Absolutely.
that I heard. Tariq, I know you have an R&D team that you mentioned here in Lebanon. Tell us a little bit more about how you're finding talent and what are you looking for in talent?
Yeah, I'm also great to hear that people are coming back. We have a bit of a different story. So we started our R&D presence in Lebanon 20 years ago with 3 people that we brought back from the UAE, Lebanese, who started our development team. We're close to 100 people now, 50-50 split between R&D, pure R&D, and technical services and support. All of our work is for US and European clients. We're headquartered in New York as a company. So our approach has always been, how can we develop talent locally? And so instead of going to other offshore countries, whether it's India or somewhere else, how can we do the same model in Lebanon? And so when we first started, we started training college graduates on the technology stacks that we needed to build our software. So whether at the time it was Java or relational databases or eventually React and Angular services, etc. So there's always been this teaching mentality at the company. Now, one of the things we've done over time is we've learned to tap into the universities as well. One of the things that always amazes me about Lebanon is, despite all the troubles that we've gone through and just the small size of the economy and the talent pool, there's really nothing that you can't find here in terms of talent. It might be limited to a handful of people or companies, but whenever we looked for a specific expertise to build on top of, we actually found. And then we did partnerships with both AUB and then more recently with the LAU, with the Innovation Hub, where we're leveraging some of their resources to help staff our projects. But now, more so with AI, in particular with AI, the universities have been investing tremendously, especially at the graduate level programs, in all sorts of AI R&D. Masalan, BMW has sponsorships with both AUB and LAU on AI robotics projects. So 3 years ago, when we just started dabbling with AI, we had a particular product that was mainly around AI vision and being able to identify objects and images and people in images and videos, etc. Our first AI hire was a graduate from AUB that was actually doing an AI vision research project at AUB. And they did an internship at Fidel, and then we hired them. And then we hired 3 other people. And then we started building around that team as the nucleus. Now, what we bring from outside the country are the relationships with companies like Google, like Amazon, like Oracle, etc., where there's a certain flavor of a technology or a certain deployment or architectural, specificity that then we teach the people here. But what we're learning and finding that the universities are a great source, in particular in AI, and they're now very eager to work with commercial offerings and commercial companies. And as of Wednesday, actually, as I mentioned, we just entered into an agreement with the Innovation Hub at LEU, so we're very excited about that.
Look, this is all very exciting, to be frank with you. And it feels to me that in Lebanon, we were not ready, and more broadly in the Middle East, weren't ready to be there at the beginning of the digital wave, early 2000. So we missed it, broadly speaking, from a business point of view. We did not create the number and the scale of companies that could have been built had we been ready at the time. But it feels now with AI there is early movement, even in universities in Lebanon. And moving early is critical because building knowledge early on has a ripple effect. So maybe this takes us a little bit about what's next. We have AI today. It's very difficult to imagine the word in. We used to ask questions in the past or about 5 years. Forget about 5 years. Very difficult to imagine the word in 2 years.
5 weeks, actually.
In 5 weeks. So, but broadly speaking, and I want to start with you, Brahim, where do you see the business of grocery or like e-commerce in general in your space of delivery? How is it going to be different in a year or 2 from now with AI?
Well, we spoke a bit about bringing the human touch, but to me, it's just about making the best customer experience for them. Like, we need it to be almost instant, from thought to delivery. So we think about how do we make it as seamless as possible, less hassle, just make it work. So we think about it from a perspective like I spoke about earlier, where, okay, you can talk to the bot and have it tell you what you want, but we can also use it to improve customer support, for example, right? So this is a very obvious use case, but to me, I'm very passionate about it because I want to, or as toters, we want to provide the best experience of order delivery. So right now, at any given second, we have thousands of active orders at any given second, all right? So you can only imagine how much support, for example, are coming in. I want to make it so that immediately you need something, like for example, I need to change my address, or I put in the wrong address, boom, changed. Change your payment method, boom, done. Why is my order so late? Boom, assigned, you know what I mean? So this is the way I see it, where it's not reliant on a human agent that is receiving hundreds of chats within a half-hour span. I want that same human to be doing level 2 and level 3 support, like following up on an issue that happened, providing better personalized care, winning back a customer that might have been frustrated. This is the way I see it. I also see AI helping in optimizing the flow from order place to delivery. So what does that mean? It means understanding better how long an order takes to be prepared. This way you can set expectations better and also optimize the time of the driver, because this is a big part of it too. So for us, drivers are a very key part of our business and our service and of the company. The biggest thing that that drivers get frustrated from is wasting time. This is what drives them crazy. And they have a right? They don't want to wait 20 minutes at a store for an order. They don't want to get lost. So this is where AI and machine learning and the technologies that are emerging right now that we've been experimenting and slowly kind of releasing out into production, it can help us know if the merchant needs more or less time, just because from previous patterns at this hour, they have a rush hour, for example. it can bring these kinds of things, as well as, of course, resolving problems of our partners, merchants, and the drivers quicker.
Great. I want to be in this world in a year from now. Tariq, do you expect major leaps in the technology that can have an implications on your business in the next year or two?
Yeah, it's interesting because we get the benefit of working with blue chip clients like Pearson Education or Disney Consumer Products, etc., where they themselves are also investing very heavily in AI. And so, as you can imagine, they're very demanding of the vendors like us that they deal with. And so we now have specific programs that we're running with a handful of our customers that are on the cutting edge of technology on how we can leverage agentic AI to automate their business processes. Now, again, in the B2B world, there's a lot of other considerations you have to take into account, mainly around data privacy, scalability, security, things that you know very well at Google, obviously. But there's a lot of considerations on how fast you can move with AI-based solutions with all of that in account, right? Customers, their number one issue today is that they don't want to use an AI solution that we develop if it's actually being trained with their data for some other customers, right? And so the whole deployment aspect of how you deploy AI solutions in the enterprise is quite complicated. And there's a lot of hype, of course, but when you actually put it into practicality terms, it's not that fast. And we know it because we're experiencing it. And we have multiple initiatives with our clients that we're running now. One of them, for instance, is an automated AI contract ingestion process. And how do you take thousands of licensing agreements and complex contracts and have the AI generate all of the data that's coming from these agreements, things that our consultants would have normally done over a year-long project that now they want the AI to do, but they also don't want the AI to make that data available anywhere else, right? And so there's a lot of business process optimization that we're looking at doing. One of them is around contract ingestion. We have a big portion of our business, which is royalty billing and financial transactions for clients. And so some of our clients will have a team of 300 accountants around the world using our software. So they're coming to us and saying, how can we leverage AI to make that team more efficient, and maybe we can get rid of a third of the team? These are the questions I'm being asked by my clients.
Yeah.
And so we're developing things like royalty accounting agents, for instance, that will take all of the accounting function behind the scenes, which is a complicated revenue recognition module, and do 80% of the work. So you don't need 10 accountants, you need 7.
Yeah.
But we're being asked by our customers to do that. And that's really the interesting part, is that companies are leveraging now, or knowing that they can leverage the technology to reduce operating costs, but then also have more precise and more accurate transactions, whether it's accounting, contract management, AI analytics, etc.
Very good. And I'll switch to you, Eli, but not with a question about the future, but with an ask. And I think if I may, on behalf of everyone here, how can OSN Plus start knowing exactly what should we watch on a Saturday or a Friday night? This is still a struggle with my wife. What do we pick? Are we going to be there in a year? And on a more serious note, what are the 1 or 2 big things that you think are going to transform your industry?
See, the problem in the first ask is we just need to have much more content, because we think on an absolute term, I want to watch everything, and there's no particular platform on video that has all of the content. That's a problem, where my music allows us to have everything. But
Yeah.
I wish that had happened. But on the other hand, there's a lot of, what I want to be able to AI implement new functionalities or improvements into every segment of the business. Like Tariq mentioned, legal. We're doing a lot of work on legal, even though we're a media company, but we have a ton of contracts. You can imagine we deal with a lot of studios and labels, so we already have our own internal software on that. But when it comes to music, people listen to music all the time. Music have had a version of AI, not proper AI, but a version of AI in most of the songs in the last 20 years. It's called auto-tune. And you know, sometimes you listen to someone singing in real life, and the music, recorded music, is much better than him because actually they modify their voice, same like they do in Photoshop. What's happening right now is we can create music that you could listen to, you know, probably not search for that song, but the second song that we recommend is totally AI generated by us, totally matches your style, and you're going to enjoy it. You'll know who sang that song. That is
Hyper-personalization in
super
content.
hyper-personalization, yeah, and content. That we can do that. Are we doing it right now? No, because legally there's a lot of weird things around that. But do you think you're not currently listening to songs that some person have created on AI and distributed on all the music services, and there are a lot of those songs, and they're very much indistinguishable, that you will know that artist, but then again, it's not like you know all of the artists. On video, we have the technology right now to replace you instead of James Bond if you're watching James Bond. Technically, it's feasible. Also, the legal aspect of it is very, mushy. We can't do that. But at the end of the day, you would love to be able to send to someone a gift, which is a movie whereby you're replacing them as the hero. So we expect a lot of things that can happen, and a lot of it can respect privacy, because we have a lot of our models right now running on our own GPUs. We don't need to own literal hardware GPUs. GPUs in the cloud. Us in Lebanon, we can work on AI and create certain services on AI that is hosted on GPUs in the cloud, totally private per enterprise, for instance, and harnessing all the power that you need. And I look to China. It's like, it's obviously China is quite a big power, but they don't have access to all of the new NVIDIA and stuff like that. They use cloud services. I mean, DeepSeek was not trained in China, mostly on AWS servers using, on the cloud. So there is opportunity for us. We're using a lot of Qwen and Kimi K2, which is Airbnb uses a lot of Qwen, which is a Chinese version, to power a lot of things internally. And we also are looking much more on the Chinese things because of their open source availability and the ability to host on your own servers, so you have proper privacy. So I look forward to some point in time, not in the too distant future, where I can have my own things on my own GPU, totally private. And it reads all my stuff, whether mail or corporate or everything, without sharing it with anybody. And that is something that's possible. And there are a lot of opportunities for us to create something in the region, because we need to have our own AI governance, sovereignty type of things, and especially when it comes to big enterprise companies, corporate, government, stuff like that. You don't want to use OpenAI or Claude and just ship them everything. I view that there's a lot that we want to do, and we want to do it in the right way, and we don't have problems on what we can create. We just don't have enough time. And what I look for in people is simply people who can come up with ideas, who have the ability to look at a problem and try to figure out what is the bottleneck that we currently have in our business, and try to divide it and figure out how AI goes in. Currently, there is nothing that we can do that cannot be improved by AI. And that's, we're talking in November 25. Just imagine what happens in a year or two
from now.
And we can't see that far. It feels too hard to think that much, but we're going to be building a lot. And us as Lebanon have to contribute. It's not when, the time is not when, it's just having, again, the same thing as the employees we want to hire, having that curiosity, having that drive, and deciding. We just need to decide there is something that we can do. We just need to all figure out that, yes, we're not going to look at the problems that exist. We don't have electricity, or we don't have enough money to get GPUs. There are options. We just need to actually simply use agency again.
Yeah. On this, I want to end with a question to everyone. It's more of a perspective, especially to those who are getting into entrepreneurship today. And you have been entrepreneurs in the digital era. And I'm sure you, and still today, and you're making the shift to artificial intelligence, but I'm sure there is a lot of learning that has happened. What would be your advice for those who are getting into business today and building companies? How do they approach it in the age of AI? To do's or not to do's?
Who's that for?
I'll start. I mean, I'll start if you want. Simplify. I think simplify. I mean, the shortest path to success is honestly to remove, not to add, because what user wants is generally very simple. We just add a lot of complication to say we're adding all of features, functionalities. Nobody, I mean, in that part of the world, or beside China, nobody uses super apps that have a ton of things. They just need to use something to get to what they want. Simplify, get to the user wow moment as fast as possible, and then repeat. Learn and repeat. That's it.
Absolutely. And
Ibrahim.
to add to what Ali is saying, I suppose quality over quantity. So you're delivering something, focus on that thing that you're trying to solve for customers, whether it be a convenience or whatever it is. Simplify. And I think today with AI, before it was like a daunting task. If you're going to start a company, you're thinking, oh my God, I have to create decks, or I don't have a graphic designer, or you're thinking all these skills you need just to get through the door, just to walk into office of investors. AI can help kind of kickstart all this, right? So with AI, I think it helps people get through the door to share the idea that they have. And like Ali was saying, simplify, I absolutely agree. Start somewhere small, but very good, very core, and pitch it. And if it'll work, and people will use it, people will respond.
If the 10% survival rate of startups still work, I mean, theoretically, it should still the same, but at least AI can help us say yes, no to some businesses before we're too invested.
And the cost, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, the cost is big, so you might lose $100,000 and be part of the 90% that fail, versus maybe it was just $10,000. So then you can try again. That's 10 tries.
Great. Tariq, any
Just
thoughts?
two quick additives. One is, and this is something that we're seeing with the new hires that are AI native. So there's a difference between, let's say, our generation that is learning AI and how to adopt AI versus the AI native generation that come in assuming AI can do everything. And the truth is it's somewhere in between, right? So you can leverage AI to do prototypes much faster. You can do vibe coding where you don't even need to know how to write any code and have a fully running and deployed application to test out your MVP. You can ask AI a gazillion questions about your market sizing, your strategy before you get to any venture capitalist or private equity firm. So tons of shortcuts that we never had, when we started our companies. But I think there's a very important lesson also for this incoming generation of entrepreneurs is that there's no shortcut for a sound business plan. And there's no shortcut for all the time that you have to put in for raising the money, for hiring the teams, for building a company culture. AI doesn't do any of that for you. So there's still a very human element to the equation that you simply can't shortcut, even when we have the AI robots working in our offices in 5 years. But they should not think that everything is going to be automated. And I don't think the hard work is going to go away anytime soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.